welcome to the deep dive. You've sent in some fascinating stuff focusing on test strategies and software testing. So let's really dig in. Our goal today is to go beyond just defining what a test strategy is and understand the real, tangible benefits it brings to building better software.
Exactly. Looking at the material you shared, at its heart, a test strategy is basically a guiding plan. It's how quality assurance teams map out exactly what needs testing and, well, how extensive that testing should be throughout the software testing lifecycle, or STLC. It's really about creating a clear understanding for everyone involved.
Right. It's like establishing the ground rules before the game even starts.
Yeah.
The sources highlight that a strong test strategy gives everyone a clear picture of the project's health. And, maybe more importantly, it's a safety net, designed to catch those crucial testing activities that might otherwise be overlooked. We all know that a missed bug at the wrong time can cause major headaches.
hmm And that brings us to the test strategy document. Now, this isn't just another piece of paper to file away. It's a dynamic blueprint, really, that clearly articulates our specific approach to testing the software and what we aim to achieve. And it's all driven by those initial business needs. This document becomes the central reference point for the entire QA team.
So it's tackling the fundamental questions, isn't it? The sources say it's about defining, in practical terms, what needs to be done and how we're actually going to make it happen. It's like saying, okay, we're building a new online store. This document will detail, say, the types of payment processing tests we'll run, how we'll verify user accounts, and the overall process to ensure a secure and reliable shopping experience.
Precisely. And as we explore this further, you'll see that crafting an effective test strategy document isn't something you just pick up overnight. It's a skill, really, that develops with experience. And crucially, this plan isn't meant to be kept in a silo. The sources emphasize the need for clear and consistent communication of this strategy to the whole team so everyone understands the why behind our testing efforts and their individual roles.
Okay. We've got a handle on what a test strategy is, but let's get to the core of it. Why is it so absolutely essential? Why can't we just, jump in and start testing as we go?
That's a really insightful question. The sources point out several key pillars of its importance. First, it provides that crucial guidance. Think of it as the compass directing our testing efforts. It clearly defines the boundaries, the scope of testing, making sure we focus our valuable time and resources on the areas that are most critical.
It's about being laser focused, not just scattering our efforts and hoping something sticks.
Exactly. It cultivates a shared understanding of the project's testing requirements among everyone involved, developers, project managers, stakeholders. When everyone is on the same page regarding the testing plan, you minimize misunderstandings and those unwelcome surprises down the line. And perhaps most significantly, as we touched on, a well-defined strategy acts as a safeguard against overlooking vital testing activities. You're far less likely to miss a critical performance bottleneck or a significant security vulnerability if it's explicitly addressed within your strategy.
That totally clicks. It sounds like the test strategy document is the crucial link, basically translating those abstract business requirements into concrete, actionable testing objectives and methodologies.
Absolutely. It's the bridge that connects the business expectations to the QA team's actions, ensuring that the testing we do directly validates those expectations.
Now, the sources make a really interesting and important point about actually creating this document. They strongly advise against simply copying a test strategy from another organization. Why is that such a critical warning?
That's a really key piece of advice. Every organization operates within its own unique environment, distinct priorities, specific internal processes, and the particular characteristics of the software they develop. What worked, what has proven successful for one company might be completely ill-suited or even detrimental to another.
So a template off the shelf just isn't going to cut it in this situation.
No.
Definitely not.
Not at all. The core principle here is customization. You absolutely must ensure that your test strategy document is genuinely aligned with your organization's specific context and that it truly adds demonstrable value to your unique software development lifecycle. Blindly adopting a strategy without carefully considering your own circumstances is, well, it's a surefire way to end up with a document that looks good on paper but doesn't effectively guide your testing efforts.
Okay, so tailoring our strategy is paramount. But what are the fundamental building blocks? What are the non-negotiable sections of a robust test strategy document? The sources outline several key components. Let's start with scope.
Okay, the scope section. It basically lays the groundwork. As the sources detail, it clearly defines the document's boundaries. This includes explicitly stating who will be responsible for reviewing and ultimately giving their approval to the test strategy. It also precisely identifies which software testing activities will be undertaken and provides a clear timeline for those activities. It essentially sets the stage for everything else in the document.
Right. It's about establishing clear expectations right from the start. Who needs to sign off to say, yes, this is the approach we're taking, and what exactly are we committing to test within a defined time frame? Next, we delve into the test approach, which seems, well, pretty comprehensive.
It is indeed. This section dives deep into the practicalities of how the testing will be executed. According to the sources, it should thoroughly describe the overall testing process that will be followed, the various levels of testing that will be performed, things like unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and UAT, user acceptance testing, and the specific roles and responsibilities of each individual or team involved in the testing process.
So it ensures everyone understands their part in the testing process, like each instrument in an orchestra, right?
Exactly. The test approach also specifies the different types of testing that will be employed. The sources give examples like load testing to assess the system's capacity under heavy usage, security testing to uncover vulnerabilities, and performance testing to ensure the software operates efficiently. This section also details the chosen testing methodologies, including whether automation tools will be utilized and, if so, which specific tools will be employed. Many teams, by the way, kind of struggle with identifying the right areas to automate first. Focusing on repetitive, high-risk areas often gives the quickest return on investment.
Automation is definitely a hot topic. Yeah, it can be a real game changer for efficiency, but it needs to be implemented thoughtfully and strategically.
Absolutely. Furthermore, the test approach must define the entire defect management lifecycle, how new bugs are reported and tracked, the process for retesting once fixes are implemented, how defects are prioritized and triaged, the strategy for regression testing, which is crucial for ensuring that new code changes haven't inadvertently broken existing features, and finally, the procedure for obtaining formal test sign-off once testing is deemed complete and successful.
Wow. That's a really granular view of how the testing will unfold in practice. The next key component is the test environment. This might seem self-explanatory, but the sources highlight some credible considerations here.
Yes, clearly defining the test environment is absolutely essential. The strategy needs to specify the number of distinct environments that will be required for testing, perhaps a dev environment for early-stage testing, a staging environment that mirrors production, and maybe other specialized environments. It also details the necessary configuration and setup for each of these environments. Crucially, the sources emphasize the absolute necessity of having a robust strategy in place for backing up test data and the well-defined procedures for restoring it should the need arise. You can imagine the setback of losing all your carefully prepared test data due to some unexpected issue.
Absolutely. The thought of losing all that progress is, a bit terrifying. Following that, we have testing tools. What are the key elements to cover in this section?
Okay, testing tools. This section explicitly identifies the specific automation tools that will be utilized for executing tests, as well as any test management tools that will be used to organize, track, and report on the entire testing process. The sources underscore the importance of carefully evaluating both open source and commercial tools, assessing their capabilities to meet your specific needs, and accurately determining the required user capacity or licenses for each tool. It's not just about selecting the latest and greatest tool, it's about making sure it's the right fit for your team and your project's requirements, and importantly, that you have adequate resources to use it effectively.
Right. It's not just about having the tools, it's about having the right tools and the capacity to use them properly. Makes sense. The next component is release control. What's its purpose within the test strategy?
Within the context of the test strategy, release control focuses on managing software releases in a structured and, let's say, test-aware manner. The strategy should outline a clear plan for how releases will be handled, including the critical practice of maintaining a detailed version history. This ensures that every modification included within a particular release has been appropriately tested before it's deployed. It's about establishing a clear line of sight between the code changes and the corresponding testing efforts for each release.
That makes perfect sense. You need to be able to trace back and confirm that every new feature or bug fix within a specific release has actually undergone thorough testing. Moving on, we have risk analysis. This sounds like a proactive and, well, essential element.
It is absolutely fundamental. This section requires a proactive approach to identifying potential risks that could negatively impact either the testing process itself or the overall quality of the software being developed. For each identified risk, the strategy must clearly outline a detailed plan to mitigate that risk, the specific steps that will be taken to reduce its likelihood or its potential impact. And crucially, it should also include a comprehensive contingency plan outlining what actions will be taken if a particular risk actually materializes despite your best mitigation efforts.
So it's not just about crossing our fingers and hoping for the best, right? It's about anticipating potential problems and having backup plans ready to go. Finally, we have review and approvals. Who typically needs to be involved here?
The sources indicate that the review and approval process typically involves a diverse group of stakeholders. This often includes the business team, who initially define the requirements for the software, project management to ensure the strategy aligns with overall project goals and timelines, the development team who are, building a software, and potentially system administrators or other technical stakeholders. It's about ensuring that everyone who has a vested interest in the quality of the software has had an opportunity to review and provide their input on the testing strategy and ultimately agree on the proposed approach.
And the sources specifically mention the importance of tracing review changes. Why is maintaining that record so valuable?
Maintaining a clear record of review changes, including who reviewed the strategy, when they provided their feedback, and the specific feedback they offered, is vital for both accountability and for continuous process improvement. It ensures that all feedback is properly considered and addressed, and it creates an auditable trail of how the strategy evolved over time. This documentation can be incredibly valuable for future projects, helping to identify what worked well and where the testing process can be further refined down the line.
Okay, that's a really thorough breakdown of the key components of a test strategy document. Now, the sources also provide a more succinct numbered list that seems to reiterate some of these core sections. Let's quickly run through those to really solidify the main points.
Absolutely. This list serves as a great reminder of the essential elements we've discussed. First, scope and overview, which clarifies the document's purpose, identifies who needs to approve it, and specifies which testing activities require formal approval. Second, testing methodology, which details the different levels of testing to be performed, the standard testing procedures, the roles and responsibilities of the team members, and the process for managing any changes to test requests.
Right. We also have testing environment specifications, which, as we discussed, covers the specific data requirements for testing, the process for preparing that data, the number and configuration of the required test environments, and those critical data backup and restore strategies.
Then there's testing tools, which specifies the exact tools that will be used for test management, automation, security testing, performance testing, and load testing, including the specific types of tools and the necessary user capacity for each. Following that is release control, which ensures that effective test execution is tightly aligned with the overall software release management process.
And of course, risk analysis, where potential risks to the project and the testing effort are identified, comprehensive mitigation plans are developed, and robust contingency plans are put firmly in place.
Finally, we have review and approvals, which emphasizes the importance of involving various stakeholder teams in the review process and the necessity of diligently documenting all reviews and updates as part of a continuous effort to improve the testing process. This concise list really underscores the comprehensive nature of a well-thought-out test strategy document.
Now, one area that frequently causes confusion in the world of software testing is the distinction between a test plan and a test strategy. The sources address this directly, and it would be great if you could clarify the key differences for our listeners.
Yes, this is indeed a very common point of confusion, and the sources do a good job of highlighting the nuances. They even point out that some organizations choose to integrate the strategy directly into the plan, while others maintain them as separate documents. However, fundamentally, they serve distinct purposes within the testing lifecycle.
Okay, let's break it down simply. What is a primary focus of a test plan?
According to the sources, the test plan is primarily concerned with the what, when, and who of testing within a specific project scope. It focuses on defining the precise test coverage, exactly which areas of the software will be tested, the detailed scheduling of all testing activities, which specific features will be included in testing and which might be excluded, the estimation of the total testing effort required, and the allocation of resources to carry out the testing. It's very much tied to a particular project and its timeline.
Gotcha. So the test plan is the very specific tactical roadmap for a particular testing phase of a project.
Right.
And how does the test strategy differ in its focus?
The test strategy, in contrast, operates at a higher, more abstract level. It's more concerned with the how and the why of testing, generally speaking. It outlines the overarching objectives of testing for the organization or perhaps a specific product line, and the general approach that will be consistently followed to achieve those objectives and execute the various types of testing that might be detailed in individual test plans. It covers broader aspects like the overall testing environment strategy, the general testing methodologies to be employed, the organization's overarching approach to using automation tools, general contingency plans for unexpected issues, and the organization's approach to analyzing and mitigating potential risks across projects.
The sources offer a really helpful analogy here. If the test plan is some destination, then QA test strategy is a map to reach that destination. That makes the distinction pretty crystal clear, I think. The plan tells you precisely where you need to go and the specific steps to get there within a defined project, whereas the strategy provides the broader guidance and principles on how you're going to navigate that journey across multiple projects or releases.
Exactly. The strategy provides the overarching framework within which multiple specific test plans can be developed and executed, maybe for different projects or even different phases of a single project. It's a more enduring document, you could say, that sets the overall direction and principles for testing within an organization.
Finally, as we near the end of our deep dive into test strategies, the sources touch upon the ongoing relevance of the test strategy document throughout the entire software testing lifecycle. It's not just a one-off thing.
Yes, the sources emphasize that the test strategy document is not a static artifact that you create once and then file away. It's really a living, breathing document that should be revisited and referenced periodically to actively track the progress of testing activities and to ensure that you are still aligned with the original objectives and the overall strategic direction.
And they raise a very common real-world scenario, the pressure that can build as release dates approach, often leading to the temptation to cut corners on testing. What's the key message regarding the test strategy in those kinds of situations?
Well, the sources acknowledge that as a software release deadline looms, there can be significant pressure to accelerate the process. And sometimes that pressure can manifest as a temptation to skip certain planned testing activities just to meet the target date. However, they strongly emphasize the critical importance of having an open and honest discussion with the entire team, developers, testers, project managers, stakeholders about whether reducing or skipping any particular testing activity will truly help achieve the release goals without introducing unacceptable levels of potential risk to the quality and stability of the software. It's about making informed, considered decisions based on the agreed-upon strategy, rather than simply making reactive cuts that could ultimately compromise the integrity of the final product.
Right. So even when facing tight deadlines, the test strategy should serve as a guide for those crucial conversations about balancing speed with acceptable levels of quality and risk.
Precisely. It provides the established framework and agreed-upon principles that should inform those high-pressure decisions, reminding everyone the potential consequences of deviating from the well-defined testing approach.
Okay, so to bring it all together, it sounds like a well-defined test strategy is so much more than just a piece of documentation. It's truly the foundation upon which successful software testing is built. It fosters clarity of purpose, it significantly minimizes potential risks, and it ensures that all testing endeavors are directly and demonstrably aligned with the overarching business objectives.
Absolutely. It's the essential roadmap that guides you through the inherent complexities of software testing, ultimately ensuring that you deliver a reliable, high-quality software product.
As you've been listening to our discussion, I encourage you to think about the projects you're currently involved in, regardless of your specific role. How might the core elements of a robust test strategy, things like a clearly defined scope, a well-articulated testing approach, a proactive analysis of potential risks, and clear lines of communication, how could they be practically applied to contribute to more successful outcomes in your work?
And maybe as a final thought for you to consider, while the specific details contained within a comprehensive test strategy document can sometimes seem intricate and detailed, it's important to remember that its fundamental underlying purpose is actually quite straightforward: to provide a clear, thoughtful, and well-communicated path forward in the essential endeavor of building reliable and high-quality software. Take a moment maybe to consider the broader importance of planning and strategy in any complex undertaking, whether it's developing software, launching a new product, or even orchestrating a significant event. A little strategic thinking right at the outset can make all the difference in achieving your desired results.